Hello, everyone. I hate using a microphone, so I apologize if it comes in and out. But thank you all for being here today to kick off our planned giving program. So thank you I assume most of you were at the service earlier, so thank you for sticking around, having a cup of coffee, and listening to us talk. We're going to go over a lot this morning. Very big overview about all of the things that a lot of people have spent a lot of time working on. So before we get going into all of those things, I want to take a second to thank the planning committee and everyone who got this established. Most of you all are here. Bill Brooks is here, Bob's here, Stacy's here, Jane's here, Mary Beth is here. I came in very late and then got credit, which was very nice to have. A lot of hard work and love went into all of the policies and documents that you can read on the website. So thank you all who put all of that work into it. And thank you everyone who filled out a survey, came and asked questions for frequently asked questions, anyone who came to stakeholder sessions. All of that work has led to us actually being able to kick off this program. So thank everyone. Now I'd like to introduce our committee. Mary would like to go first. So Mary, welcome.
Thank you so much, Josh. Good morning. Thank you for being here. I'm Mary Dunlop, as Josh mentioned. I'm head of the Usher Ministry and a 10 a.m. parishioner, so I'm happy to meet some 8 a.m. people. And I am very pleased to have been asked to serve on this committee. It was a good experience. I've been a member of St. James since 2000. I am not a cradle Episcopalian. My parents were members of the Dutch Reformed Church. How many people know of the Dutch Reformed Church? Ah! Is that right, Mary Lou? It's popular in the Hudson, New York, New Jersey area and the Midwest. And my father actually was the son of a Christian Reformed minister who preached in Dutch. I grew up in Muncie, New York. It's a small town west of the Hudson River, about 20 miles from the Tappan Zee Bridge. It was a very small town. Everybody knew everybody else. Everybody watched the children and reported back. And it was a beautiful life, though. I mean, it's nothing like life is today. My mother was a school psychologist, having completed her doctoral studies, but due to World War II, and my father's drafted to the Navy at the time of our birth, she never completed her thesis. She was a career woman, though, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, somewhat rare for that time. And my father, who started in banking, ended up running my mother's family's business, which was a lumber and coal yard. And he worked very well at it. Naturally, lumber and coal, all of a sudden, there wasn't the need for it as there was. We had a coal furnace growing up. And so he saw that coming, and he developed a hardware store, a mall, the post office in Muncie, and got out of the lumber and coal business as it was dissolving. We walked to school, Nancy and I, and there were only 28 people in our graduating class in the 8th grade. We were brought up in a devout religious family who followed the practice of daily devotions and attending church twice every Sunday. Added to this was Sunday school, and my mother was in charge of the Sunday school. So it should not be any surprise that my sister and I had perfect attendance for 13 years. After Sunday school, we would go to Spring Valley, a neighboring town, and go to the Dutch Reformed Church there. And the Dutch Reformed Church is, in my mind, a version of a Dutch version of the Presbyterian Church. My father was an elder, sang in the choir, they were very active, and then we spent Sunday with family. My father's spinster's sister, and we were not allowed to do any work. We couldn't sew a button on, we couldn't go shopping, heaven forbid, no movies. So it's a little on the boring side. Sunday evening, though, back to Muncie Church, which was the Christian Reformed Church. Are you familiar with that? Okay, well, it's Calvinistic, and they believed in predestination. Talk about confusion, and sermons, let me assure you, were not short. While Nancy and I weren't bad students, we were procrastinators. That's our story, and we're sticking to it. So we ended up having to go to our safety school, which happened to be Hope College in Holland, Michigan. An adjustment we never made. And we transferred on a snowy January day from Hope College, Michigan, to Gettysburg College, a Lutheran college in Pennsylvania. I couldn't get out of there fast enough, but come to find out, we at St. James had Jan Joseph and her husband, who's passed, as alumni of Hope College, and they lasted all 4 years. We only had one grandmother that was alive when we were born, and she passed when we were 2. However, there was a dear older woman from England who helped my mother in the house, and she revered and spoke very warmly of the Church of England, and she made sure I knew about the Church of England. I had been to Episcopal churches on occasion, although not much time for that in my household as a child. And in college, I attended somewhat irregularly. As you can imagine, I'd had enough as I was growing up, and I sort of took a bit of a break. As my future husband and I were to be married, I chose to be married in the Episcopal Church and have our ultimate children baptized there, which went against the wishes of my family, as you can imagine, because they tremendously supported the Dutch Reformed Church and the Christian Reformed Church. And I was like, nope, not doing it. I wanted to share, though, that I have been influenced, of course, by my family in many ways in my faith. I was particularly impressed when my parents' wills were read and they were bequeathed to the churches in Spring Valley and Muncie. Wow, really? It clearly made an impression on me. I started to reflect on my life in and with relationships I had at St. James. Although I joined in 2000, after a separation and finally a divorce in 2004, I relocated from River Creek, and after living for 2 years with my son and gracious neighbors, I finally settled in Reston, where I still live. Yet I tried to stay under the radar at St. James when I went back. And I couldn't leave St. James, so I did go back. But I hung low. Yet I wanted to stay under the radar. I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to participate. And I just anonymously enjoyed the architecture of the church, the clergy, the music, and everything about St. James. I love the organ music, which I played as a young teen. And, but then I finally had a revelation. I went on a mission trip to New Orleans to help rebuild a home after Katrina with a team from St. James. I really didn't know anybody except the assistant rector. So I brought a friend from my condo in Reston, so I'd have somebody to hang out with and to keep me company. So by the end, we gradually made friends, and I knew a couple more members of the church. My circle did expand from that point on. At a ministry fair, I met Beth A. and Michael Dowling, who were planning a mission trip to Costa Rica to help bring donations of all sorts of things and to work with at-risk youth. And we worked from toddlers through high school. There was an orphanage there, and there was a school, and we were there for a week. I went on 3 trips. The first 2 had 8 people. The second and third trips, it grew, and I brought my 14/15-year-old granddaughter with me, and it was a great experience for every one of us. The last trip to Costa Rica had 26 people, and it was half adults and half youngsters. And I also went to Honduras. And my last trip was 2020, and we squeaked back into the country a day before the COVID epidemic was confirmed. I hold that trip dear to my heart. It was not an easy trip, but it was so worthwhile to bring running water to the people of Honduras. And Paul Reimers was ahead, and he was phenomenal. The team was phenomenal, and it was great. That's why when the concept of planned giving was presented to me, I wanted to be part of it. I want my love and gratitude for St. James to live on. I want future generations to be given the same opportunities to have connections, support, a body of shared faith, and future opportunities to help the poor, whether here or in other parts of the world. God has given me incredible blessings. A rebuilt life, a precious twin who's in the back of the room, wonderful friendships, an amazing family, and our clergy, of course, and St. James' body. To keep the torch lit for St. James' love, generosity, and warmth, and support, and grow in faith. I want that passed on to other generations. I want a legacy. And I want other people for years to come to be able to enjoy the same blessings that St. James has given me and God has given me in his goodness. And now I have a vehicle that will complete this stream and make sure it's part of my estate plan. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here.
And now I'm going to introduce Brian Graves, another member of our committee. You have to use the microphone, I've been told.
Pardon me?
You have to use the microphone, I've been
Okay,
told.
okay. Well, thank you. You can see from the picture on the screen that I'm in sunny weather. I do have a home in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, and when it gets anywhere near 30 here, I'm in Smyrna Beach, Florida. So, but I am happy to be here. I can honestly say that my religious experience is a whole lot different from Mary's. I grew up as a Methodist in a church, where the Methodist Church in Greenfield, Massachusetts, out in the country, was lucky if we had 10 kids in the program. We were not the church of choice in Greenfield. And, but it was fun, and interesting, because when I got married, I married into a hardcore Episcopalian. And I became an Episcopalian, and the rest of my family has become Episcopalian and continues to be. But an interesting experience that I had here was, as I retired in 2000, an early retirement on a biotech company that was very successful, but did get bought out, and a lot of us had to leave. So I was in early retirement, and lived in Reston, and decided we needed to get out of Reston and come farther west, because there was nobody out here in 2000. And in 2003, my family, I was in the service, my wife was in the service, she was a Navy nurse. My kids, my 3 kids, were all Marine, either in the Marines or in the Navy, 2 girls in the Navy. And if you remember, in 2000, 2003, we had a little bit of a dust-up in Iraq. And I had a son-in-law who was in the Marine Corps, who was in the lead company that when they began the war. And we had moved to Beacon Hill, up the road, just as it was beginning to become bigger, and went to church after living in Reston in St. Timothy's, which was just a nearby town. And when I had heard that, and heard that there was the first death of a Marine, I really kind of lost it a little bit. And I remember seeing this church, and ended up coming. The door was open, and I sat in the sanctuary for about 4 hours. Just, being able to, whatever grief or anxiety that I had was reduced greatly. It turned out that there was an officer that was killed in that first advance, but it was not my son-in-law. So that was the beginning of my visits to St. James, and became, in 2003, 2004, became active, and my wife was very happy here, and was happy until, ultimately her passing in 2019. But that was essentially the introduction into the Episcopal Church and into St. James. And after a number of years, I was rounded up by guys like Don Shoren, Ken Getty, Jerry Crumwitty, people that are, and others that have passed, Dan Thomas, got me involved in the property committee. And it was an interesting experience, and it was coming from the business side of things. It was confusing to me because we were struggling to have money. And at that time, the church, the property committee had a challenging time to find funds sufficient to really, we were always short of being able to fix everything that we needed to fix. Money was a real challenging problem. And we have done a whole lot of things over the course of time in terms of getting more funds, and you can see what happened over the course of the last couple of years. The church itself, the physical entity, has become wonderful in comparison to where we were so many years ago. So I guess when I heard of the word planned giving, the only planned giving program that I was in was at the University of Massachusetts in the athletic department to ensure that the soccer program was funded because it was on the bottom of the list again. So I became intimately involved there in attempting to raise funds, raise money, and it was through planned giving. And so my introduction to planned giving, is really helped me understand the importance of having sufficient funds and being able to get sufficient funds. I mean, if you think about wherever you came from, whatever businesses or schools you were in or programs like that, there were all kinds of giving programs that were being established. And we really didn't, I mean, our giving program was operating funds on a daily basis. So we were always struggling to find sufficient money to do the things that we needed to have done. And over the course of the last 3-4 years, things have gotten extremely improved under the auspices of Don and Dan Thomas and Ken Getty and others. I am convinced that St. James and the University of Massachusetts men's soccer program are in my list of where I'm going to give my money. And St. James is taking most of it, so, which I'm happy to say, and will continue. And so I think when we have basically, as a result of this planned giving program, I mean, everyone is doing it, if you think about it. Everyone is doing this, and this is the important way to do it. And it's, for me anyway, and the fact that we have two funds that have been identified as the important things at this stage. The Legacy Fund, which can be used for all kinds of things, but the other fund is the Historic Preservation Fund. And for me, the Historic Preservation Fund is something that I feel strongly about. This church, the feel, the looks, the care people have about St. James and what has happened. I've talked to others, the difference between how the church looks outside today and inside today over 2003, 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's remarkable to see the difference. You know, going to Florida and then coming home and seeing all the signs that are painted, and, you know, I mean, we have gone big time and done a fantastic job and need to continue to do it. That's the unfortunate part of having a historic church that is really a significant piece of ground in Leesburg. I mean, this says Leesburg. If you show this church, this says Leesburg. And we need to be positive about finding the money to continue to make this church whole and doing all of the things that people on the property committee want to do because it needs to be done. And that has really come a long way through the course of time with a number of different people leading the program, but I think the program has gone extremely well. So I can say that over the course of all of the number of rectors and the interims that have been here, we've managed to continue to do what needed to be done to sustain this physical piece of property. And that's really where I'm coming from. I think the creation of the two funds was a great idea. And and there will be sufficient funds if we're able to put money into the preservation of the historic version of St. James. So that has really been my interest. There's no reason why the University of Massachusetts needs more money than St. James. So that's my intention, and I'm happy to be a participant in this. You know, Josh and Mary are way up in front of me in terms of a lot of the things they know about this. I'm not a financial expert, and I think we'll be able to find a way to, you know, build that trust fund and do the things we need to do, and we will hopefully be able to do it. So that's my mission, and it will be added to my list, and I'm looking forward to it. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary and Brian. As they mentioned, my name is Josh Walensky. I'm the chair of the Plan Giving Committee. We've done a lot of work to get some of these things kicked off, but hearing the stories about why this is important individually, I think are really powerful. Because each and every person here has an individual reason why St. James is important to them. So why is Plan Giving important for St. James? When you look around our campus, you will see plaques in stained glass windows with the names of people who have came before us. Griffith, Odin Rogers, Meade, Davis, Trundle, just a few people who gave support to a church without knowing what it was going to be hundreds of years later. They did it out of their generosity to support a church, to allow it to survive, to allow it to grow and adapt to the times. That support is what we need to continue to grow 100 years from now. For challenges that we don't know what we will have, for different solutions and adaptability that we have no idea. But we need to make sure that our long-term growth is protected, so that way we can continue to be St. James even when none of us are here anymore. So what is Plan Giving? I guess we could have done what before why. That may have been a little helpful, but I like why, starting at that area. So what it is intentional and proper support for every parishioner or anyone who wants to give St. James a gift for the future. It's all about the support of the future of our congregation, our church, and every part of it, our missions, everything. Our committee is here to help you all in a few different ways, mostly focusing on education, advocacy, and being a resource to you. So that is what we are looking to do here. We are going to have a variety of ways that you can give that we're going to explain. We talked a little bit about those 2 funds, but other ways that we can give. There is a long list of things here. There's a variety of different areas. If any of these may or may not be what you want to do for your gift. You can have a combination of these. There's more ways than the ones that I am listing on here to give. What I have to say is what we are not in plan giving, which I missed on the last step there, is this is different than your pledge. A pledge is going to the operations every year of the congregation. Planned gift is going to future long-term needs. They are completely separate. Your pledge is as important as planned giving. I need to say that, even though I'm on the planned giving committee and not the stewardship committee. That is as important. I might have an ulterior motive on my end, but it is as important for our operation budget. So if you have a 401k, an IRA, and you have RMDs, and you were like, I don't know how to use these this year, call us. We have a way that you can give to a planned giving fund, right? If you are redoing your will, your trust, and you don't know how to give to St. James, call us. That is what we are here for. All of these things, I will say, I am a financial advisor. I am not anyone in this room's individual financial advisor. When it comes to your individual giving, consult your financial advisor, consult your CPA, consult your estate attorney to make sure you are doing it for you. Our committee, even though I have some background in it, we're not here as someone to give you specific financial, tax, or legal advice. We are here to provide resources for you to do all of those things, but we are not here to write a will for you, for example. We will say, hey, here's an estate attorney who can do all of that for you. Brian mentioned 2 new funds. So with the planned giving committee being created, it was also created with 2 new funds. Brian talked a lot about the Historic Preservation Fund. This is a fund that will go to the campus. Anything that involves the maintenance of our beautiful building. As you guys probably saw, repointing of all of the stone happened in the last year or so. We have spent a considerable amount of time, energy, and funds over the last 2 years to improve this campus. Having this beautiful building is a privilege. We are so fortunate to have such a historic and beautiful space, but with that comes the need for additional maintenance that will continue 100 years from now, I would imagine, as our needs will change. So if you would like to donate for a long-term gift just for the campus, this would be a fund for you. On the other side is our legacy fund. These are funds designed to support the ongoing and future spiritual vitality of the parish through unrestricted gifts. If you want to give to St. James, but you're saying, I don't know what it's going to need 50 years from now, 20 years from now, 100 years from now, this is where the gifts would go. Unrestricted giving will give our vestry and our ministry the ability to come and make a decision that is best for the congregation at that specific time. It is not designed for us to take it and use it a year from now. It's about the use of it 10 years from now, 20 years from now, allowing it to grow over time. So that way, as our problems, as our needs, as our issues, as our congregation continues to grow, we have funds that can support all of those individual ministries whenever the need arises. All of these funds are managed by the Diocese of Virginia trustee of the fund. So if you see TOTF, those are the people who actually manage the money in our funds that go into it. They are a nonprofit organization that is designed for this exact usage. A lot of the Virginia churches will use them, Episcopal churches, to do that investing for all the funds. If you have specific questions about how it will go in there, I've never met anyone who's more interested than I am about investing and the math behind it all. So if you want to have a boring conversation with me about that, I'm happy to talk to you about it. But the other side of this is if you are seeing your want, if you have a specific want for a gift and it does not fit in either of these two buckets, that is okay. We are here to help for those specific instances. If you want to give to anything specific, please reach out to us. The email is going to be at the end, and we will walk you through what that looks like. So just because it's not mentioned here doesn't mean you cannot call us or give. We still are more than grateful to help you walk you through what that path will look like. What you should do next, this is the slide I call Contact Us, because if you notice the answer to all those questions, I just found different ways to say reach out to the Planned Giving Committee and all of them. If you've already included St. James in your estate plan, and this to me is the most important, we have just started this program. I assume many of you in this room, many of the people at the 8 o'clock service, many of the people at the 10 o'clock service, have already created a will or a trust and included St. James in it. If we just want to know who you are, for one reason for me, I want to thank you. You deserve a thank you for including us in your estate plans. While you are here and we can physically thank you, right? Please let us know, and also the more people we know about, the more we can actually plan for the future, right? We want to support you in your time of need. If there's anything we can do to make that easier, we want to do that. If you're thinking about including St. James in your estate plan, but you haven't yet, again, reach out to us. We can give you the information that makes the process easier for when that time comes, that we can actually say, here's what you need to include in your will, here's what you need to include in your trust, here's how to make it easier on everybody in your family, including us. If you're thinking about creating a will or estate plan, you absolutely should do that. Everyone should do that. There's my free piece of financial advice for the day. If you don't have a will or estate, please create one. It makes it way easier on your family and loved ones when that time comes. But if you're thinking about it, again, contact us. We have a good network of estate attorneys that can help you kind of decide what you want to give, or if you want to give to St. James at all. Part of all of our plans is in the educational front. We will have some sessions in the future where we will have some estate attorneys come in, talk about things you should look at in your estate, in your will, not to push, hey, put St. James in there, but to advocate for you all that that is important and you should be thinking about that. And estate laws change constantly. And I am not a lawyer. I'm going to say that about 1,000 times. I am not a lawyer. I will not draft a will or estate plan. But these people can actually help you in what to look for and if you need to change anything. And if you would like to make a gift outside of your estate planning, a lot of times in planned giving, we talk a lot about wills, estates, bequests. You could give to St. James right now while you are still here in one of these funds. Just because we talk about it like that doesn't mean that it's exclusive. If you have an RMD or if you inherit money recently and you want to give it, we are happy to work with you in that. You can still be here and give to our planned giving, and we will thank you even then. So anytime that you are looking to make a gift to St. James, basically outside of your pledging or to a very specific like major gift campaign, you would contact us so that way we can at least go through the process with you. We did not want to bore you with the policy documents and everything that we have. If you are interested, they are on the website. We have plenty of information on our gift acceptance policy, all of the policies established around planned giving. But just know that is what we are here for as the committee, to know those things. If you have questions about them, please reach out. Like I said, the please reach out slide. If you have any questions or are interested at all, contact us. There is an email at the bottom, plannedgiving@stjamesleesburg.org. That will be where you want to go to answer any of your questions. Or reach out to Mary, Brian, or myself whenever you see us. With that, I wanted to save time to allow you all to ask some questions. So does anyone have any questions about planned giving or how we can help? I know I'm pretty informative, but there's got to be some questions out there. All right, Josh.
Still counts as planned giving if it's like a contingent beneficiary. So St. James isn't being listed as the number one recipient of the funds. But in the case of X, Y, and Z happening, they may. Is that still something you want to know about?
Yes, if we're included in the estate plan at all, we would like to know about it. And in those cases, everything is very specific, right? I can't stress that enough. We want to speak to you individually because in those cases, we kind of need to know what the conditions are that would result in a gift to St. James, as opposed to saying, Josh comes to Josh and says, hey, there's all these contingencies, or you didn't tell me that, and then something happens to you, and we're like, hey, I think we were included in the estate, and then it turns out there was a few conditions behind that. All amounts are welcome. There is no amount too little or too big that we would not work with. We are grateful for anyone just including and thinking about St. James. And the good part about long-term financial planning is any amount now will grow over time. And if we collect these amounts and everyone giving a little amount, it will turn into a bigger amount as we go. I'm sorry? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you. I'm going to steal that last line that you said. I'm going to post it around Percival, so around my office. Hey, Brian. Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that you get, is it possible to provide the funds that you want to give for the operating expenses of that year as one portion of that, and there would be another portion of that where it would be possible to say this could be directed
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Somewhere else, yes, besides the government. So the question is, could you use your RMD distribution? So if you have a 401k and you get to over 73.5, you actually are forced to take money out of your 401k. Second piece of free financial knowledge today. You have to take it out. They require you to. So could you take that distribution and split it between your pledge and planned giving is Brian's question. And the answer is absolutely. It's really easy with a conversation with us, and then I would go to Stacy, our treasurer, and say, here is the plan. So you could put all of the money directly to St. James. It would go into one account first, I assume. Then we would split it up however you would like it split up. Yeah. And free pitch, you would also get a... Mm-hmm. Yes, and you would get a tax break from it. So it actually is a very good plan. But again, speak to your financial advisor when it comes to tax and financial advice, because they will actually help you and do the math for you about what you should do.
Along that same line, you do a line with a QCD.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A qualified charitable donation for all those who didn't know what a QCD was. Well, all right. Well, thank you all so much for being here. I am around. If you have any questions, please feel free to stop by. My wife and my mom are also here. They don't want to talk to you about this stuff, though. They'll probably point you to us. But yeah, thank you all for being here, and I'm so excited to actually launch Plan Giving. We have a trifold over there with basic information in it. Please be sure to pick one up and tell all of your friends about it. Thank you all.